On today's episode of the Crossworks Media podcast, we will be talking about the rampant crime and the failure of the law and order in the United States. So our first story I'm going to go to comes from the Daily Mail, UK, and I think it's Operation Fall Hall 2 in Florida results in 160 people being arrested for sex trafficking, including a Georgia deputy police chief, 2 Disney workers, and teachers, PE teacher, math teacher, some other people. So, we look at this, and you have this police chief who is supposed to protect and serve, but the only thing he's protecting and serving is his own self-interest. Okay, so, this stuff is everywhere. Anytime you pop in the news, I think last year we saw it, and it never really hits big news headlines. Last year, I remember they found they found 50 kids or something somewhere in the world, and you heard about it for a week. So, and there's so many more of these, these news headlines, and it seems like it's getting worse. I was going through the local news, and in Greenville, some lady got stabbed over the weekend, and she died from it. Somebody got shot in Spartanburg or something. So, it seems like there's so much more crime going on. The question is it actually more crime, or is it just being reported on? Or
the internet.
Or is
We're so much more connected. There's way more news outlets.
I'm saying even compared to the last 3 years, maybe. Unless, there's not actually that much big news going on right now.
No, but
important news.
Yeah, but I mean, like you were saying about that all those people getting caught in that operation. I mean, was it like that back then? Did you just not hear about it as much?
I'm sure.
It's just now we just have the technology that we can catch all these people now.
Well, I think it's more maybe institutionalized, but right here, August 28th, 2020, 40 missing children rescued during Georgia police thing. 70 missing children found. And this was May 31st, 2022. This was a few months back. During a Texas operation. This stuff is rampant, and it happens a lot. So I think what happens is you have people who, and a lot of these stuff is people soliciting for prostitutes, but a lot of these prostitutes and these underground pornography films or whatever you want to call them, they're people who are taken advantage of, kidnapped and groomed inside of this type of situation here. And obviously you have, minor sex trafficking and everything too. But I definitely think that I think it is getting worse.
Well, I mean, with this new sexual revolution that we're living through right now, one of the big pushes that the left is trying to make is to normalize sex work.
Yeah.
With all these OnlyFans and prostitution and stuff like that, they're trying to make it legal to for prostitution and stuff like that. So I mean, when you have a side that thinks that is a good and decent living to be made, then obviously you're gonna have people that probably agree with it, and it's not that bad to go and solicit prostitutes, but I mean that's just not a healthy thing to do.
No, not at all. And I think too, which I lost my train of thought, but I always lose my train of thought. But anyways, I think what happens is as we become more and more of a culture that is fleeing from God and fleeing from morality, and like you said, the sexual revolution has to go along with whatever makes you feel better, whatever is best for you, you should do that and
live out your truth. It's this postmodernist thing where there's no one truth. It's everyone has their own truth.
Right. So you have stories like that, and then you have this story right here. This just happened, let's see, a little while ago here. This is from the New York Post. It's a Missouri tourist, 2021. A St. Louis tourist, age 21, raped by a stranger in a New York City subway station. And they don't know who he is, but essentially what happened was, as this lady comes from St. Louis, there's a man who says, hey, I'll show you around town. And so they get on the subway and they ride around, stop at a whole bunch of different stops. And then at the end of the showing, he was showing her around. He took her to a secluded subway station and he raped her. First of all, never ever listen to some dude who says, I'll show you around. Doesn't matter if you look sketchy or not. That's stupid. So, but it's stuff like this where in New York City, in these liberal and democratic cities, and not even just liberal and democratic cities, or in states, but like almost all cities are liberal and democratic, and or not democratic, but Democrat cities. There's nobody there who's able to have a gun, able to protect themselves, and so you hear stuff about this, and you hear stuff about that lady who got raped while people were watching her and did nothing to stop her. So you constantly have stories about people committing crimes in front of people and nothing happens,
Well, and then recently, ever since 2020, which is, the summer of love and all those George Floyd riots, we've ever since then we've seen just such a massive spike in crimes that have rampaged across the nation. And for the longest time, the Democrats have, tried to, just act like it's not there. But there was this headline recently where it's like Democrats are just going to have to face that crime is rising and it's their fault.
Yeah.
Because, you look at all these, you look at like the places where all these crimes are going like off the rails. It's like, Philadelphia, Soros prosecutor. What is it? Los Angeles, Soros prosecutor. San Francisco. Same thing. I think New York probably most likely has a Soros prosecutor. And it's so funny because for the longest time, this, Soros prosecutors was like a conspiracy theory. And, that's just an anti-Semitic thing. And then what is it? George Soros comes and puts out I think it was an op-ed or something that I think it was a Washington Post where he's like, people may not like my thing, but I'm not going to stop putting out my money to achieve my dreams and this new justice reform system that I think that it could really be good for the nation. And his whole thing about the his version of justice reform is to pretty much just let people out of jail and then criminalize the innocent people who try to protect themselves.
Why do you think he's doing that?
I'm pretty sure I've heard in the past that like he's come out and like he really just does not like America. I don't know. I don't know if he's doing this in other nations.
He got kicked out of somewhere, or he crashed some sort of currency in Europe, I believe, or something like that. But like, I often wonder, like, why is he doing this?
You can gather up more control when there's chaos in a nation.
You can what?
You can get more power when there's just a complete chaos in a nation. And who are the citizens going to run to ask for help if they can't own guns? They're going to ask the government for help. Federalize the police force.
Yeah, so he he must hate America, obviously, because there's no way in their right mind but they do. That's the thing. So people actually think this is good. There's majority of people, or a lot of people, are voting for this to happen. And like, why? Like, what is wrong?
Well, because when it comes down to it, you go and look at like places like San Francisco where they actually got a petition to kick that guy out, that Soros prosecutor, because they were sick of it. You think about it, and these people have just so much money behind them from a guy like Soros that, really, if as long as you just get your name out there, people will go to the ballot box and be like, hey, I've heard of that name before, and then choose it, and then just vote him in. Because, if you're going to have some rich dude backing you, putting your name up everywhere, you're going to have the name recognition. People will just vote you in. They don't actually know your policies or anything. But, San Francisco, they were able to petition that guy out of there. But Los Angeles, they tried to get their guy out of there, and you had to get like a certain threshold, like a number of vote or signatures, and they ended up getting like 200,000 more. But then they ended up the city ended up chucking out like 210,000 signatures, so then they could get back under the threshold, so the guy can stay in.
Yeah, that was in Los Angeles.
Yep. Oh, that's what it's Gascon. I think that's the guy in San Francisco that they kicked out with Gascon, I think.
Yeah, and they'll probably just replace him with some other freaking loser.
Yeah, but I don't know. But crime has gotten so much worse, though. I mean, like especially violent crime. Like New York City has seen the largest increase in violent crimes out of all the cities. It's like it has a 40.6% increase compared to 2021. These are violent crimes.
Yep.
40%. That is insane.
Well, you know what's funny is the other day I was at work and we went to Subway for lunch and I didn't feel like paying Subway's prices for a drink. So there was a Dollar General right next to it. So I ran into Dollar General to grab a Gatorade. And there's a dude straight up loading like a jacket full of Gatorades. And I think he took like some sparklers and just bolted out the door. And I told the manager, I was like, hey, that dude I think just stole a bunch of stuff. And she's like, I know. And so she ran outside and yelled at him. She said, you are not allowed back here. So I asked her, I was like, is that all that happens? Like, do you guys call the cops? And she's like, no, like, we could call the cops, but they're not going to really do anything. And we have to wait for Greenville County to come up because Marietta, where we were working, doesn't have a police station. So they have to wait for county sheriffs to come. And she's like, they won't really do anything. And the only thing we can tell them is to not come back in the store. And, you know, I saw him, and I literally just stepped aside because it's like, to stop him, I couldn't do anything. Like, legally, I couldn't stop him. You know what I'm saying?
No, because as soon as you could have a bad guy doing something, and if you stop and hurt and then end up hurting him, then you can get in trouble for it.
I probably would get in trouble for it. Because the only way you can use, like, violence to end something or stop something is if there's great bodily harm or death could happen. And obviously that's not going to happen. He's stealing maybe $10 worth of stuff. But, like, the fact that he's doing this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in broad daylight with cameras everywhere, there's no recourse. There's no, like, this guy's not afraid of anything. They're not going to press charges against the guy. Like, yeah, they have his photo now, but, like, that doesn't do anything. Like, even if you catch somebody stealing your four-wheeler or something, you catch them on camera, and they get a picture of the face, they're not going to, like, go out and find this guy.
I mean, you had that happen with a truck.
Yeah, literally, my truck got stolen. And
this was, what, 4 years ago?
Almost 4 years ago, yeah. And, you know, I told the cops about it, and they took down a statement of mine, and, sorry. Oh, excuse me. They took down a statement of mine, and that was pretty much it. And they're like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. And they don't go looking for your truck because it got stolen. Okay, that's not what happens. It's like if they find it, if they come across it, you know, if they run the plates and it's, it come up as stolen. Like, that's why they put that in the system. And that's it. So, like, if this guy, you know, if he's got his picture taken, right, from robbing the store, if he gets, you know, arrested or something, and like, hey, you know, you also are charged for robbing a Dollar General 4 years ago, like, or whatever my word is, my throat itchy. But yeah, so, you know, the cops, they don't do anything anymore. You know, if you would have got caught stealing back in the day, you know, there was, you know, punishments to be had, like, in broad daylight. Like, you wouldn't do that. You know, the people wouldn't let that happen. But you know what? You know, the law doesn't permit you to stop someone from stealing something. It doesn't. It has to, if someone comes in your yard to steal your truck, you can't shoot them. You can't shoot them with a gun. Like, legally you can't, speaking. You know, and whether the you know, the district attorney will actually prosecute you or not, that's besides the point. But, like, the law is written that life is worth more than goods. So, and you know what? Like, yeah, I get it. But what happens is if there's no punishment for people who steal minor and little things, they'll just keep going up. Like, this guy had no qualms of showing his face. He did not care. He looked right at me. He smiled at me. Like, these people don't care. And this is in South Carolina.
They know they're not going to get in trouble. I mean, this stuff, it's not, yeah, like you said, this is in South Carolina. I mean, then you look at, like Los Angeles is just a hellhole right now. I mean, there's videos every day of, like, just places, like a bunch, like 15 people will walk into a place, just ransack the place, and then just walk out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the store owner's just standing there. And then you have, like, what is it, like the bodega up in New York. where like what was it? That guy just randomly started attacking that bodega store owner.
Yeah.
His girlfriend tried to stab him, and then what did he shoot him or he stabbed him, right? The bodega
I don't know.
remember, and then he protected himself. I think he killed the guy, or maybe he just stabbed him.
Yeah.
And then he gets arrested. The bodega guy.
Yeah.
People put up a stink. Then New York finally is like, okay, we'll let him off. And the guy's like, screw this. And then he moves back to the Dominican Republic because he's like, my life will probably be better there. This was like a wicked big story.
Yeah.
And then I think it was in Los Angeles where it was that that younger was it Asian kid where the two guys like walk up and he's like,
it was
like,
in Nevada.
Yeah. Oh, it was in Nevada. Okay. And he's like, hey, I think I'm gonna take that. And the guy's like, just please leave. And then they're just standing there. No, I don't think I'm going to. And then he like grabs something and he walks to the one guy, and then as soon as he walks to the other guy, one guy jumps over the counter. He runs to that guy, and then he just like stabs the crap out of the guy.
Him a bunch of times.
Like a bunch of times. I mean, people are gonna get sick of it. Guy, thieving is like can ruin someone's life.
Well, and the thing too is like when someone, steals something, like they're stealing it from the company, but if that store gets shut down because it's being thieved or robbed so much, then you're putting a handful of employees out of work.
Yeah, you have Starbucks closing in like I think Portland.
Yeah,
because it's just so bad over there. I mean, you're taking people's jobs, and eventually civilians are going to get sick of it because you know that the police aren't going to do anything about it. I mean, when you look at like some of these like self-defense laws in some of these states, like Maryland or New York, like if someone's running at you like down the road, running at you with a gun, like screaming at you, it was by law you have to retreat into your house, right?
Yeah.
They break into your house. I think you have to like retreat again. It's like constantly you just have to retreat. I don't even know at what point you can actually protect yourself. But then you have places like I don't know who has stand the ground laws. Does South Carolina have stand your ground?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's stand your ground. Like you don't have to retreat.
Yeah. There's three laws. There's duty to retreat, which like you're saying, you have to like if someone busts in your front door, you have to run out your back door.
Yes.
If you don't have a back door or whatever, and there's no avenue of escape, then you can attack, and then you can defend yourself. But even still, you're gonna have to go before a jury that will be like, hey, you have to prove to us
you could have jumped out the window.
So, and then in other states like Maryland, like you have castle doctrine, where if they come into your house, then you can shoot them. Okay, and you can end it right there. And then you have states like South Carolina, which have stand your ground, which is if you're standing in the middle of a field on your property and they're running after you saying, I'm going to kill you, and they're 500 yards away, technically you could shoot them. Now, they might have some questions for it, but the state has to prove that you had like homicidal intent to kill them. So,
much good luck proving that.
Right, exactly. So, but that's the thing is like it doesn't matter where you are. You have a stand your ground. Like if someone's starting to come at you, bro, you can end it. But so right here, California. Listen to this. Karina Castro, age 27, was beheaded with a sword Thursday morning outside her apartment in San Carlos, California. Her ex-boyfriend, Jose Rafael Solano Landeta, 33, is currently under arrest and charged with homicide. So this dude straight up beheaded a woman with a sword in the morning, and nobody does anything. Why? Well,
There's a sword. I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. You're in California.
A lot of times, like knives and stuff are in certain situations are more dangerous than a gun.
Yeah. Like, but you're in California. You can't have guns.
Exactly.
This isn't, or I mean, you can, but it's not easy. Like, most likely people did not have guns around them. If somebody near me just took out a sword and chopped somebody's head off in South Carolina, the person would probably be shot by 27 people. Like, seriously. Like, and this is California. Like, I wouldn't want to go to California. I wouldn't want to go to New York City. I don't even want to go to Detroit. Like, any of these cities, I do not want to go there. I don't, like... It's the crime is insane.
There's so many videos like you go and look in like Philadelphia. Oh, it's supposed to be the city of brotherly love, but I see videos every day that like there's two ladies walking down the street, and it's like a just a security camera outside. There's two ladies walking down the street. There's this dude that walks past them. As soon as the ladies go by, the dude turns around and just sucker punches the lady in the back of the head, and she's just out. And then he starts attacking the other lady.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just be walking doing nothing, and then some dude methed out on bath salts or fentanyl is just gonna randomly go and attack you. It's just getting so bad. I mean, there's that one where I don't know if you saw it. It was she was like a worker for like a cell phone store. The dude like walks in like asking about cell phones, and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you can do this and this," and then he like just keeps walking up to the counter, walks behind that counter, and just starts beating her.
Yeah.
Knocks her out. Starts curb stomping her for no reason.
Yep.
It's getting so bad. Get out of the cities,
dude. You got to, like, seriously, and this comes back to community. There's a loss of community. In New Ipswich, where we used to live, little tiny town, 3,000 people. If somebody walked into the local store and sucker punched the cash register and started curb stomping her, there would be people hunting this guy down.
They probably know where you lived.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. Like, you lose that in the city. The city, it's terrible. Like, literally, get out of the city. Move somewhere. Move with people you know. Move with friends, family. I don't know. Find like-minded individuals. Live with them or around them. Because you know what? That's just ridiculous. Like, I don't even want my wife and child to be going into the cities around here alone. And you know what? Obviously, this is the news. You hear about these things. Like, the percentage of it happening to you is obviously very, very low, but it's a lot more than it used to be.
But the same people, that lady who was walking with her kid in California, she probably thought, it's odds are very low to happen, and then she just gets her head chopped off,
like literally with a freaking sword during the daytime. This is retarded. And sorry, I did not mean to say that word, but anyways, This is ridiculous. And you can just go up and you can look at the crime. You can look at anything you want and you'll find crime and crime and crime and crime. And you know what? The left will always want to take your guns away. Take away your right to protect yourself. And that's just foolishness. I carry a gun with me almost everywhere I go. The chances of me needing it are very, very low. But you know what? Especially with my wife and child, I would feel like a heel if I couldn't protect them when the time comes that I need to protect them. And I want the best tool for the job. Okay, I don't want to use my fists. Okay, I want to be able to use a firearm. It's a force multiplier. So, but yeah. So if you look around, like even on this earlier story about the St. Louis tourist who got raped on the subway train. Like, I was looking up another rape thing that had happened, and this one pops up, 5 hours ago. Like, this stuff is happening all the time. Why is my Wi-Fi so garbage? My word. But
no, but I mean, then when you look at like all these violent crimes that are going up, whenever it comes to like shootings, they always try to blame it on guns and stuff like that. But I mean, when you look at what like the definition of a violent crime, it's not just like shootings and stuff like that. Violent crimes are rape, sexual assault, robbery, assault, and murder. So I mean, like when people say violent crimes are up, those aren't just gun related crimes. So you can't blame it on guns. This is a cultural problem. We have a morality problem. There is something really sick and twisted about the soul of our nation right now, that you don't care enough about like the people in your own community that I don't know, you just can't, you don't even have a connection with your community anymore. You don't know who the person living 4 doors down from you is anymore. You don't know people by their first names. So you don't have a connection. You don't care about these people. Like in New York, where they don't even care about that lady who's getting raped on a subway train. They're just looking at her as she's getting raped. Like, you don't do anything about it. Or another story where there's another New York subway where this lady is literally just getting beat up by a dude, and nobody does anything. They just stand there and watch him. So one person with a couple people were recording it. They're just standing there and watching her as this lady's getting beat up. And I mean, what are you supposed to do about it? How do you solve that? How do you heal the soul of a nation?
I don't think you can. At this point, we've lost so much. It's gone so far. There's no way it can come back to what it was. It's impossible. How could it? The only way it will happen is with the left not having kids, aborting their kids, trying to sterilize themselves. That they'll literally just stop. They'll cease to exist.
Republicans have more kids than liberals.
But the problem is like they say, and like we've said before, they don't need kids, they have yours. So we need to figure out how to raise, you have to raise your kids. This is not something that will be solved within the next 20 years. It's not.
What is it? Is the saying is you must be ready to plant fruits that you may not be able to enjoy or something like that.
Right, and we might never know if this will succeed.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And the last, the lasting imprint on this world, you die, and the name Javen and Clayton, it will be, nobody's gonna remember us in the future. What does it take? Takes 3 generations before your name is forgotten or something like that. Like I don't know my great grandpa's name.
Right.
And then the only thing that you will have done on this world is the kids that you raise. So you better do a good job.
Yeah, and you better raise them so they raise good kids.
Yep.
And that's a lasting legacy, and it's a tough thing, but it's actually not that tough. It isn't. That's all you have to do is care more about your children than you care about your own dumb life. It's hard. It's simple to think about, hard to execute maybe, or what is that like it's like a diet is easy to formulate, right? And it's obviously it takes effort though to complete
Easier
it.
to say than do.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier said than done. So it's not hard to figure out how to do it. It's just literally doing it. So if you could just raise your kids, and you don't have to make them perfect, but like you just do a good job.
It does take effort.
A parent, a father and a mother together, and you'll pretty much probably be golden for the most part. And yeah, we might not see the changes in our lifetime, but there's 2 ways this is going to get fixed. 1, civil war, which I do believe is going to happen, or 2, the left just cease to exist as the far leftist or you know what I'm saying, like that faction. But these, you go on like Reddit and stuff and you read about what they say about the stinking Republicans, and the Republicans say about the leftists and liberals. Like, man, they hate each other.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help when you have the president of the United States claiming Republicans are a threat to the nation.
Yeah, literally.
With a dark blood red background and Marines standing behind him. Pedo Hitler, #Pedo Hitler.
Dude, you can't make this stuff up. Like, who thought this was a good idea? Like, seriously.
And then guess what? Kamala Harris was just on with Meet the Press with Chuck Todd and was defending the speech, saying that it's a good thing our commander in chief is willing to come out and defend our democracy.
Yeah, our country's ran by a bunch of lunatics. But yeah, you know what? Who cares about them? That doesn't. In this coming November, hopefully, Lord willing, this November we'll get some more seats in the Senate. But you know what? Republicans, when they win, they do freaking nothing. They don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the problem. The left is worse than the right. The Democrats, in my opinion, are worse than the Republicans. But the Republicans are still bad. So, and it all comes back to culture. It all comes back to culture. You have to change the culture. You have to win the culture. And right now, obviously, our first episode was, the cultural battle or cultural war begins. And that is true. And it's still going on, and it's going to go on for 20 years. The first cultural war, the leftists won. They have it. They have the culture they want right now.
The 60s and 70s.
Right. We're talking about the next pride stupid thing in their dumb lettering name or whatever is, they're talking anyways. There's people talking about having it be MAPS, minor attracted persons. That we have gone so far down the slippery slope, and it doesn't end. The slippery slope never ends. It just gets more and more and more and more depraved
until you just crash.
And we heard today in the sermon, the man was preaching. He had a quote from Mother Teresa on how in a world where a mother can kill her own child for her own selfish desires, essentially, like how that is the most evil thing that can be, is that a woman will kill her own child for her own benefit. And a mother and her child is the closest bond that exists on this world, I believe. And obviously, a lot of these women who get these abortions are, they're coerced into it, right? They don't understand what's going on. But the ones who do understand, they come to the realization of what happened. They either A, repent of what they've done, they feel bad, or B, they're soulless and they're heartless people.
And then they wear shirts like,
Yep.
Be proud of your abortions and stuff.
And they'll say, yeah, I murdered my own effing kid and stuff like that.
Or there's one where some lady was like, yeah, I never had an abortion, but I wish I had one.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous. But so, anyways, this is a shorter episode today. We've had a busy weekend. We had weddings and friends and family visiting. So, but yes, the cultural war continues, and we'll come back with you for another episode next week. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.